Happy Football Manager Release Day. What did you think I was going to say? Am I Mariah Carey? The release day means we have access to the largest single database to hunt for Wonderkids anywhere in the world. Over 488,000 individual players scouted by Football Manager put into this database, and we have come out with a list of the top 20 Wonderkids out of all of them. And the number one player on this list, Football Manager thinks could be better than Messi, literally. But we start with an honorable mention. Player number 21, as it were, Ethan Nwaneri, the 16-year-old midfielder from Arsenal. And we'll use him to illustrate the criteria for this list. First of all, you have to be 19 or under to be on the list, which means Jude Bellingham, take a hike. This is also a list that is only mildly subjective. It's based off of the numbers assigned to players by Football Manager's scouts. We put it together on stream, which if you want to watch those streams, the link for the Twitch is in the description. This is something we do on stream the first day of every Football Manager release. Now, Ethan Nwaneri here has an assigned current ability of 115 from the Football Manager scouts. That's on a scale of 1 to 200, and that number determines what attributes Ethan Nwaneri is going to have, like 14 dribbling or 12 finishing on a scale of 1 to 20. He also has something called a potential ability range, which almost everybody on this list will have. His range is from 150 to 180, and when you start a save in Football Manager, it will pick a random number in there like 167, and that will be Nwaneri's potential ability, but essentially that range is what Football Manager thinks he could become in the future. For a reference point, 150 is like Christian Eriksen or Ivan Toney or Sadio Mane. They all have 150 current ability right now. 180 is Mo Salah. That's of course all very good, and everybody on this list is going to get better than Ethan Nwaneri. And we start with number 20. Kendry Paez. The 16-year-old Ecuadorian midfielder was one of 47 signings by Chelsea, it seems, over the last calendar year. But this is one that Chelsea seems to have gotten right, at least according to Football Manager. He is an incredibly talented central midfielder with a lot of attacking capability. He's only 16 years old, and he has also been assigned the potential ability of 150 to 180. He's going to be hanging out in the Ecuadorian League for a couple of years, so you might not hear about this guy immediately, but Moises Caicedo used to be on this list when he was in Ecuador, and look what happened to him. Well, Chelsea also bought him, so I guess it was the same thing. Number 19, Arda Güler. The exciting 18-year-old at Real Madrid's had some injury issues, but his current ability is still 125, and his potential ability is also 150 to 180. But what makes him particularly exciting is the type of player that he is. He is in the mold of the Mesut Ozils of the past. He is not a terrific athlete. What he is tremendously technical and creative, and that is reflected in what Football Manager has given him. He's an 18-year-old with 18 out of 20 technique and 17 out of 20 flair. He has the touch, he has the long shots, he has the passing, and he has the gumption, whatever that means. But if he can stay fit, he's going to be the best player for Turkey's national team for a long time and should be a regular with Real Madrid with no problem. Number 18, Alejandro Garnacho's. Garnacho. The Manchester United winger has a very high current ability of 142. He is a little old for this list at 19 years old, but he has that high current ability for one thing and one thing only. He's very, very fast. Football Manager has put his acceleration and pace at 18 out of 20, which is super high. Makes him one of the fastest players in the Premier League and really one of the fastest players in the world. Not at the very top Kylian Mbappe level, but close. They've also given him very high creativity in dribbling, but he doesn't quite have that well-rounded game yet, and his potential ability range is at 150 to 180. So Football Manager seems to be, along with everyone else, acknowledging that Garnacho is good, but not quite sure if he can become the very best, although they are sure he's going to improve. Number 17. Antonio Silva. The Benfica center back enjoyed one of the most ridiculous rises you've ever seen over the past calendar year. He went from somebody that wasn't even playing in the Portuguese top flight to somebody that made the Portuguese national team in order to go to the World Cup and is now considered one of the 20 best Wonderkids in the world. He is given the personality of model citizen, which if you don't play Football Manager, that is the best possible personality in the game. His current ability is like Garnacho, 142, which is stupid high for a teenager. And his potential ability range also 150 to 180, and with the model citizen personality, he's basically guaranteed to reach it. Like any Wonderkid center back you would hope, he's incredibly sharp, both physically, mentally, and technically when it comes to the defensive duties of his job. He is a Rolls-Royce Wonderkid center back, and that's how you end up on this list. Number 16, the guy that probably felt really hard done by the signing of Harry Kane, Mathys Tel. The 18-year-old Bayern striker has been given an incredibly well-rounded set of attributes by Football Manager, deservingly so, because he can't stop scoring in real life. His current ability checks in at 130 with a potential ability of 150 to 180. He's versatile, creative, and can basically play in any role in the front four that you could possibly need, which is exactly the type of player if you're Bayern Munich you'd want, or exactly the type of player if you're any club you'd want. And you know what else you want? Probably this cool kit that I'm wearing right now. This is Paro FC from Bhutan, and thanks to our kit sponsor Sengalo, you can have access to cool, off-the-beaten-path kits from around the world for nice discounted prices. They're doing a huge sale right now in the month of November. You can get this kit for 20% off, and some of the kits on the website are up to 40% off. So check out Sengalo in the description. Their kits make up now a significant portion of my closet. To number 15, it's another center back in Portugal. This time it's sporting Ousmane Diomande. The Ivorian is a little less perfectly well-rounded than Antonio Silva, but he does have one thing that Antonio Silva doesn't even have. He's a tremendous ball-playing center back. His vision is already rated at 16 out of 20. That is Premier League midfield-level vision to pick out passes from the back line, which in the modern age of the John Stones-type center back could be increasingly valuable. His potential ability range is also slotted at 150 to 180, so he's still on that tier, but he is a particularly useful modern center back, and he's only 19. Everybody is a teenager on this list. You figured that out by now. Number 14, Manchester City right back, Rico Lewis. Now, Rico Lewis is only 18, but his current ability is rated at 136. And the biggest contributing factor to that is the fact that he is rated as just super committed at all times. His work rate, his bravery, his determination, all top class. A guy that uses athleticism and that determination to get up and down the right wing and is adding the technical elements to his game. Football Manager feels confident they know exactly what his potential is, so they've given him a rating of 167, which is of course slightly better than the average potential ability rating of somebody who's in the range of 150 to 180, which is why he ends up here on the list. Number 13, Estevão. Yes, you probably never heard of this dude. He's a 16-year-old who plays in the Palmeiras under-20s in Brazil. And if you look at his attributes, he is quite bad right now. I mean, he is 16, but even in compared to the other 16-year-olds we've seen on this list, he's bad. His current ability is rated at just 75. What puts him on this list is the fact that his potential ability range is 160 to 190. As this kid started to break into the Palmeiras first team, he has started to show flashes of a huge potential that Football Manager thinks he might be able to capitalize on. I mean, 160 is the level Ronaldo's at right now, Casemiro's at right now, and Riyad Mahrez is at right now. If he gets to 190, that's Kevin De Bruyne. And I don't know if you knew this, but KDB is the highest current ability player in the entirety of Football Manager. He's ahead of Mbappe and Erling Haaland, who have higher potential abilities than KDB. They could pass him in the next couple of years, but right now, it's KDB. And at the highest level, that's what Estevão could be. But right now, he's all potential and a little substance. Number 12, Ajax defender Jarell Hato. And this kid is spectacular. He can play left back and center back naturally, which offers the fluidity that you so often need in the modern game. He's only 17 years old, but his current ability is clearly already very good. And it is hard. It is very hard to be this well-rounded. We're talking about a defender who has 11 finishing. Why? Just because he can. Now, his potential ability range is lower than Estevão, but he's 17 and already this good, so the fact that his potential ability is 150 to 180 doesn't mean that he isn't already a better Wonderkid, because Jarell Hato is very, very likely to reach whatever potential Football Manager thinks he has. And the last player outside of our top 10, João Neves. João Neves is an 18-year-old attacking midfielder from Benfica, and he's the type of person that Football Manager warns you they are coming, because look at that. Look at those attributes, dude. This guy is all about The bravery, the aggression, the commitment, his technique is fantastic. I mean, he's a fantastic player at 18 years old. His current ability at 18 is 139, but his potential ability is still just in that 150 to 180 range, which is what keeps him out of the top 10 Wonderkids in the world. But it is very possible João Neves becomes one of the world's best midfielders in the next couple of years. He almost already is. Ask any Benfica fan. They were in the chat during the stream letting me know that we needed to look at this guy, but he still hadn't done enough to crack the top 10. And the top 10 starts with Italian center back Giorgio Scalvini. This guy's been cracking the Italian national team from Atalanta as a teenager. He has great size, he moves well for his size, and his mentality is absolutely fantastic. He understands the game well, and he beats other people to the spot. And he's leading the line in what is truly a tremendous crop of central defenders that we have coming through as Wonderkids over the next couple of years. But with number 9, we go from a well-known quantity in the Italian national team to a guy you might never heard of, especially if you're not from England. Mikey Moore. Now, Mikey Moore just turned 16 on August 11th. He was born in 2007, but Football Manager already freaking loves him. His potential ability range is 160 to 190, and his current ability, well, it's low because he's incredibly young, but it's already 91, and he's a player that's starting to perhaps get around that first team with Ange Postecoglou. He has a very, very long way to go, but Football Manager thinks that at his highest level, he could be better than Kylian Mbappe is right now, which is a massive compliment. Number 8, and this somehow feels like a demotion, is Youssoufa Moukoko. Remember when this kid was 15, 16 years old and taking the world by storm? Well, he's 18 years old now, and he hasn't quite figured out a full-blown first-team role yet, even though he's already appeared for the German national team and is fairly regular with Dortmund. The striker has a current ability of 125 in the game, but his potential ability is still sky high, 160 to 190. He still has a chance to become one of the very best strikers, if not the best striker in the world at some given time in the future. And he's almost a throwback, a classic advanced forward archetype with pace, touch, and finishing. Which brings us to number 7, which is another player that feels a bit like a demotion. It's Endrick, the forward that Real Madrid spent 70 million on that still isn't joining them for like another 2 years. His current ability is 114, but his potential ability has gone down. Last year it was 170 to 200. This year it's just 160 to 190. But the one thing that always stands out about everybody that scouted Endrick for Football Manager or anywhere else is the fact that he has an uncommon amount of creativity, and that is still reflected in FM with an 18 out of 20 flair rating. He also is unusually strong, 15 out of 20 strength for a 16-year-old who is only 5'8", 145 pounds. There are clearly still special things that the scouts see, but he didn't have the best year at Palmeiras last year, so maybe that's starting to show. But it's hard to be too hard on the kid. I mean, he just turned 17 in real life. But now it's time to enter the Matrix for number 6, because this player is at Brighton and Hove Albion. It's Irish striker Evan Ferguson, 6th best Wonderkid in the world, playing at Brighton. Evan Ferguson is only 18 years old, but his current ability is 138 because he is a physical monster. He is 6'2", 174 pounds. He has the jumping reach to match. He is very athletic outside of that and has a natural goal scorer's ability with 15 out of 20 finishing at 18 years old. They've rated his potential ability at 160 to 190, and of course the high end of that is literally Erling Haaland, whose current ability in FM is 188 right now. There's a reason Brighton's already been receiving massive transfer offers for Evan Ferguson, and given that they just keep winning, they're actually not really inclined to accept that right now. I'm curious to see what happens with Evan Ferguson in the next couple of years. But he still wasn't good enough to crack our top 5, which is inhabited by almost one club entirely, and it starts with number 5, Vitor Roque. The 18-year-old Brazilian striker that's joining Barcelona next year has already cracked the Brazilian national team, and he's done that because he's just really freaking good. His current ability is rated at 136, and as you can see, he offers an incredibly well-rounded set of skills that make him valuable across any part of a front three. His potential ability also checks in at 160 to 190, but because he was more well-rounded than Evan Ferguson, that's why he bumped into the number 5 spot. But it was close. Vitor Roque and Evan Ferguson are projected to be two of the defining strikers of this next generation. Number 4, and finally, we have a left back. But boy, is it a good one? It's Barcelona's Alejandro Balde. He's a little old for the list. He's 19, but he is the last 19-year-old on the list. The reason that he is at number 4 regardless is the fact that his current ability is already over 150. It's 154. Remember at the beginning of this list, we were talking about players whose potential ability was from 150 to 180. Well, he's already at 154, and his potential ability is 160 to 190. He has the technique to be dangerous in space with his crossing and his dribbling. He's an explosive athlete who also works his tail off. He has a great mentality, which is why he's becoming a regular in the Spanish national team. Number 3 is PSG midfielder Warren Zaire-Emery. He's only 17 years old. He's been making huge waves in the Champions League already. He is another success in PSG's player development, which is often dumped on for not being able to capitalize on players. Well, they've capitalized on him. He is a player rated in Football Manager and real life as someone with an uncommon comfort playing in big games and an uncommonly large footballing IQ. He's a good athlete. He has the technique to pick out a pass, and as he continues to grow, because he's only 17, that 160 to 190 potential that Football Manager has assigned to him might even be low. But that was the last non-Barcelona player on the list, because number 2 is Gavi. It's easy to forget, but Gavi just turned 19 in real life, and he's 18 at the start of this database. He's obviously the mentality monster of all mentality monsters, and his current ability rating is the same as Alejandro Balde, but he's a year younger. It's 154, and he's not just a mentality monster. They've given him some really good technique with his first touch and his passing. His potential ability checks in at 160 to 190. But they are all behind number 1 on the list. Obviously, that's how lists work. But number 1 is on a completely different level. He is the only player in the entire game that is given 170 to 200 potential ability. 200 would make him better than Lionel Messi in Football Manager at any point, not just now. The player is Lamine Yamal, the Barcelona winger and forward who has burst onto the scene not just for Barcelona, but the Spanish national team at 16 years old. At every level he's played at, he's been the type of player that you immediately noticed he was different, and that's reflected in the way Football Manager scouted him, giving him 19 out of 20 flair. At 16. As a very young 16-year-old, his current ability is already at 125. Meaning that Football Manager doesn't just believe he's all potential, that he has a ton to offer now. He has great ball control and a really elite change of direction for a 16-year-old. And I think the number 1 thing you can take away from this list is that if you start a save with Barcelona, you are going to be able to develop a super team without signing anybody. But Lamine Yamal is the chosen one this year, and I wish him the best of luck trying to reach the massive potential that Football Manager has laid out for him. Hey, I got a haircut in the last 5 seconds. I'm that fast. If you want to watch the full story of that Lamine Yamal kid, we actually made that video. We did all the research. It's right here. Check it out, and you can learn why he definitely deserves to be the highest rated Wonder Kid on Football Manager, because he's different gravy. Special sauce. I like normal gravy, though. It's fine.